Welcome back. Today we have an extra special treat for everybody. My guest today is one of the top 20 spiritual healers in the world. She is trained in the lineage of King Solomon at the Modern Mystery School in Toronto. She is the owner and CEO of Empowering Path, a holistic practice here in the Seacoast. She is a new friend. She's a warm soul, somebody who I definitely am excited to get into this conversation today. My guest, Alex Bynum.
Hi, Steve. Thanks so much for having me.
Alex, thank you so much for being open to coming on the show and, for kind of being a whirlwind, which was amazing. You were the one who said it. I called you like last week. Normally this stuff takes like a little bit of time, to get people to come on and to do that. But I had reached out last week, based on I had saw someone at the gym, and they had told me that they had come to and worked with you, and was telling me how she had shoulder pain for years and years, and then that shoulder pain was gone. And anytime, and I'd heard about you, through other means, Seacoast Stories podcast and other means, just from people talking about you in town. And I was like, oh, this is really interesting. So I called you, and we answered the call.
Yeah.
And we got to do something magical last night, and then today you're on the podcast.
Yeah. When you called me, I was kind of on a roll with doing media, so I was like, yes, let's do it like tomorrow. So I'm really happy to be here. So thank you.
Yeah, you're so welcome. Thank you for being open to to it. I want to get right into it, because last night I'm a guy who I'm my audience knows me. I'm pretty woo woo, pretty spiritual guy. I'm willing to try willing to try anything. But like for whatever reason, I always had an internal pushback to try certain types of energy work, like Reiki and just other energy healers. I just never had really done it. And I think that it had a lot to do with just my own, if I was spending time on myself, I was like, oh, I wanted to make sure it feels really good, right? I want to make sure it feels really good. So I'm going to make sure I get like a massage, or I'm going to do something else, or I'm going to do yoga. I'm not going to necessarily do the energy work, even though I believe in it. I think that it's a real thing. And then I came to your practice last night, and I the way I feel today, the way I felt last night. Yeah, dude. Like that wild. Absolutely wild. It's breathtaking. What took my breath away. Like I was just like, wow, that is some.
Well, selfishly, I'm glad that you waited, because it was so cool to be able to facilitate that first energy healing experience for yourself, and especially with the life activation, which is like it's coming out of the gate strong in terms of energy work. So
man, it
awesome.
was. Yeah, you nailed it. Like it was. I think the world everything happens for a reason. So like that, it was supposed to happen that way. I was supposed to be wowed the first time that I did it, and it wasn't, because there's probably a lot of there might be some people who practice Reiki and don't have the same training, and they might not be able to do.
Yeah, that first experience is important, right? Because it can either make or break you in terms of how you view or see energy work. So yeah.
Big time. And guys, I'm not kidding. Like I have I've talked about before, my ribs flare up and all this stuff. My posture today, last night after this, is feels like so normal. My ribs are sitting over my hips. I'm able to move a little bit better, and it feels normal to do it. My shoulders aren't normally I'm hunched over.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I told you last night I worked with a man, and he's been 5'9" his whole life. And this is an older gentleman. And we just did the life activation, which is what you did, Steve. And he went to his doctor, and he's miraculously 5'10". And his doctor can't explain it. He can't explain it, but he just stands so differently, because that stuff that was holding him down in his energy field, I worked on that, and now he's 5'10". So it was pretty cool.
Yeah, were you able to, obviously you've been training this since 2013, right, at the Toronto school. That's when you first went.
I went to the school first in 2014. I got initiated in 2013. Activation, which is what you did, and initiation are two different things. But activation is a very big step forward on the path of know thyself.
The activation is what I did last night, and that is the first step, and that's the.
Yeah, it's kind of like a energy reset, but what we say is it like activates your spiritual DNA. So it really activates like who you are, what you're here to do, helps you come back into alignment. You know, the way that you feel after the activation is actually how we're supposed to feel and like be connected in that way. And so what happens is a lot of times people, they'll address things mentally, or they'll address things, I would say mostly mentally on a mental level. But there's this huge other component that's needs to be addressed as well, because I may process my trauma mentally, but if it's still stuck in my energy field, then that's an issue. You know what I mean? So I'm still walking around with it stuck in my energy field, even though I've processed what happened. And so we need to process what happens, of course. But that's why, I obviously very much value what I do, because being able to remove stuff from someone's energy field and just help them be more of who they are and help them to flow, it's like giving someone themselves back.
Yeah, 100%. Are some people easier to work on, or is there less stuff to take out? Because, like, for instance, you said most people should be walking around like that. That's like the baseline, and I agree. That is how we should all be. It's when you can like communicate the best. It's when you can
be connected to your higher self, right?
Yeah, connected to your higher self. So there's some people that, I mean, most people probably come to you because they're in misalignment. Yep. But are there some people who have come to you, and they're already in enough alignment where, you work on them for some time and.
Yeah, it's good for anyone though, because I don't know anyone that hasn't been, impacted by this world. It's hard. Like, life is hard, and
yeah.
I've never sugarcoated that. Like, life is hard, and things happen to us. Even just maybe you've never had significant trauma, but just being in the world is kind of traumatic in a certain way. So the energy healing, yes, there are different levels of how people present, but the healings really work to meet someone where they're at and like take them to their personal next level. It's actually what I love about it, because it's universal, so it will work for anyone, and take them wherever they need to go to their next level. So I've worked with like homeless people, and I've worked with like CEOs, and they're in two completely different situations in life. And, this person needed this to go to their next level, and the CEO needed something else to go to their next level. So.
Do you have to deal with that on the back end? Like I'm sure that there's ways that you like protect yourself from the energy, right? But there's, because you're sucking a lot of this bad energy, or removing a lot of this bad energy from people, and that's like I just know that as like a just a normal empath. When you take on people's emotions and stuff, it physically affects you. So
yeah, it's more a rebalancing that I'm doing for people, like kind of straightening things that might have gotten a little. It's almost like, cords get frayed or things like that. It's like kind of realigning that stuff. But I used to be a social worker, and I was taking on my clients' stuff. And so I burned out as a social worker in like a year, because it was just, I was resettling refugees, and I was just so emotionally involved, and I didn't know how to not take that home with myself. But energy healing.
You're a world changer. That's what you wanted to do. You wanted to change the world, and that's just like your inner being, right? That's yourself.
Just who I am.
Yeah, it's who you are. So that's how you took it on at first.
Yeah. It's not necessarily, I don't know if it's about changing the world, but I just want to make the world better.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Make the world
But
better.
I listened to something you said recently, and you were like, most people are, they have good hearts, and they want to do good for the world. So I do think that is a universal, 99% of people are good people, and they want to help make the world a better place. Mm-hmm. But that drive in me was just so strong from such a young age. But just to wrap up what I was saying, with the energy work, there's a set of rituals that I learned. And I know that sounds a little woo-woo, but there's a set of rituals that I do every day. And so, I'm able to be with clients, but I don't have to like take their stuff home or carry their energetic stuff home with me. So I've been doing this for 10 years now. 10 to 11 years now. And so, I'm able to do it. People come in with heavy stuff,
Yeah, I left some heavy stuff with you last night. That's what I was. That's why I was curious about
And I
it.
feel great today.
Yeah,
Everything's
no,
great.
exactly. You feel light. You feel like you're ready to go. You feel great, and that's. It's just, that's what I was thinking. I was like, my stuff is deep, and my stuff is can be dark, and I shared that with her, and that came out, for sure, because I feel so good. That was obviously holding me back, that stuck energy or whatever. And then that went on to you. So I was just like, oh, I wonder how she processes that. But that's because you do daily
I have
rituals.
a daily ritual practice that clears my energy field of anything I've picked up. So that's cool. Yeah, I highly recommend that.
Yeah, it's really cool. Is that now? And this is all stuff that can be taught, right? This is all stuff that can be taught, and
yeah. So this stuff, it comes from the lineage of King Solomon, and it's always been handed down, teacher to student. And so I'm not trained in the entire lineage, but I'm trained in enough things that you can do a training with me, and I can teach you those rituals so that whatever you're doing in your life, you're able to not take on negative energy or there's different rituals for different things. Be able to manifest what you want or balance yourself out if you're feeling really off, things like that. And so those rituals that have been passed down, super helpful. I highly recommend them because I don't know what I'd do without them. Yeah.
Yeah, and like this is a personal story for you too, right? Like where you had to find it for yourself because you needed to heal. You needed to heal personally, right?
It's like healers need healing.
The origin story starts there, right? Like that's we got to you said you get to listen to my podcast, with Troy last night, and that was pretty cool because I didn't realize I had a car accident, and that's part of like my origin story, which made my
I had a car accident. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's pretty cool. So it's like it's not cool that we got into car accidents, but that the origin story of that, they begin in trauma. They begin in places of
heavy trauma.
heavy trauma, right?
Yeah.
Exactly, and that's how you learn to heal, and you learn to because you need to do it, within yourself.
Yeah, I had a teacher once, and she said, we teach what we need to learn, and so I thought that was pretty cool, and I was like, yeah, I definitely, most people find the work that I do because they're seeking healing, and that was me. I was no different. Sometimes we can even see the trainings and the activations and the healings and the initiations as like a hospital for the soul, because there's so much out there for support in terms of our physical bodies, but in terms of our soul and spirit, it's like that stuff needs to be nurtured too. And so when that's not being nurtured, like people suffer, and I found this work, I was suffering a lot.
Yeah, it's like people don't realize it, including like this is because I didn't realize it. I remember like when I first started doing yoga, I would run around telling people like literally like so excited, like, yo, do you know that you can heal
I know
trauma, emotional trauma with physical movement? Like, and that's why and that's too why I think that I was a little bit hesitant towards the energy work, or at least because I knew that
it was good.
I knew that it was good. Yeah, I knew that it was good. I knew that the yoga was so, like the physical movement was so good, and I was like, that's gonna, and I can't imagine what because I told you like I know when I know my energy. Like that's one thing about me that I've always like had a relationship with, in that I know that I know that everyone has this and has the ability to do this, and their energies are always interacting with each other's. But I've just been conscious of mine because it has a big effect. Mm-hmm. It has big effect on people. It's like I come into a room, people know I come into the room. And I when I want to, when I'm dancing and I really get into it, I feel like my energy can affect people. I'm just walking down the street and people can't help but smile, can't help but be lifted up. They can, when they talk to me, they get excited. They get excited about life.
Yeah.
And so, like I've always had a relationship with the energy, but I never I never trusted that it could.
Well, you have to really trust the person working on you, right? Like,
yeah.
You need to have some level of like trust in terms of who you're allowing into your energy field to work on you.
Well, too, and I think for most people, it's like
it's kind of like, well, what's going to happen,
Mm-hmm. And this is actually really interesting because you are a person who obviously light is like a big part of this, right? Like one of the biggest part is light, and we see that is how we see things and how we perceive things is through light, and it's why I can see all this, that's green and that this has structure is because of, because of the way that my eyes diffuse light.
Like we're beings of light, but then that light gets kind of like dim, right?
Yeah.
And so someone turns the light back on, And, you want to work with someone who knows how to turn the light back on.
So we it's all we're seeing, right? So we can see, but the light doesn't allow us to. Oh my God! It's
You know
such
what's
a
crazy
complex
is we
thought.
only see like, now I'm getting a little bit woo-woo, but we only see like this much of the like actual reality, like this much of the light spectrum or something.
Right.
But like the universe is so massive. And so our realities are shaped by like this tiny
This
visible
little
piece on the light spectrum.
a little glimpse into it.
A little glimpse into like the
And-
universe.
Right, and if it is, and yeah, it's so fascinating because I know that if we can see it, then
If you can see it, you have a choice over it.
okay, yeah, you have a choice over it, and
If you can't see it, then or you can't remember your own light, it's hard.
that's the thing though. People like, full circle. People they can't see it with their eyes, the energy field.
Right.
That's my point.
So
That's what I was trying to get to that whole
Yeah.
fucking time. Sorry, everybody.
No, that's
But
okay.
it is that we like. That's why people don't believe in it, or they they have a hard time believing in it. And it is so based in light, right? That's what it's based in. That's the reason why we can see things, but we can't see this energy field, or some of us can't see this energy field, and that is why it's people don't. People aren't as able to like work on it.
Yeah. I was definitely one of those people until I started like training and realized like, oh, I can feel and see this stuff. Some of my favorite clients are skeptics actually, because, the skeptic is like, whatever. And then you start doing stuff and they're like, whoa, I really feel that, or I can really experience
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
what you're doing. Like, because I don't like actually touch the physical body during the session. I'm just working on the energy field. And so it's mind blowing for people. Right? Because it's like,
This guy.
wait, maybe I'm not just this physical body. Maybe there's way more to me than I realized, And that takes a minute to like digest.
Yeah. I mean, I already. That's the thing is, I even understand that, right? I understand the energy stuff, and I completely understand that we are energy, and I still had a tough time making the transition to thinking like this is gonna the physical movement and physical touch is gonna help me a lot more, and that's where if I'm spending my time, which is a precious thing, that's what I should be doing.
Yeah.
And now my whole reality is shifted on that
Yeah.
because of our experience last night. Because you were able to, like I said, my posture, like guys, there was at times where my posture was going into a certain place, and then my back would realign, my spine would crack a little bit because I was like a realignment. So it's like, this is wild. She's helping my body feel comfortable in the right place, and we all have these like wild compensations that we hold our bodies in. So we're always like holding our breath and stress, the trauma of the world.
Yeah. And it's crazy. We know that similar acquaintance, right? And she had shoulder issues her whole life. And then someone just goes in and pulls out the what's not working in the shoulder. And now she has like functionality in her shoulder again. It's wild. Like even for me, it's wild, even though I've been doing this for a long time.
So yeah, you still get surprised by it. You still get
Because
moved by it.
every person is their own mystery. Every person is their own universe. And so, the person standing in front of me, the god or goddess in front of me, is not unlike any of the other people I've worked with, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know what's going to happen when I work on someone. I just know that it's going to work for them, like whatever they personally need to take them to help them in their lives, which is cool.
Is there like a certain amount of people that you can work with at once? Is there
Yeah, it's usually 1-to-1, except in the group trainings. So
I mean more so like your total load of people.
I think max like 4 or 5 a day.
Okay, yeah.
There's only each session is 90 minutes to 2 hours. So
Mm-hmm.
I'd say maybe 4 a day, 4 to 5.
4 to 5 a day.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it fills you up too. It fills you up.
Yeah,
to do the
so
work?
people are like, "Wow, you must be so drained." I'm like, "No, let's go like out running.
Yeah.
Let's go to a dance party." Because
Last
for
night
me,
you were like, I gotta go to the gym.
I'm
Yeah.
flowing all that light, right? So that light is also coming through me and helping me to heal. And so it's coming through me. It's going to the client. So we're all just working in this light. And so yeah, I usually feel pretty great after doing sessions. Yeah.
How much time have you had to spend at the at the Toronto school, the Modern Mystery School in Toronto, to be able to practice like you do, to have
Well, if someone wants to do life activation, somebody could get certified within like 6 months. So you would need to get initiated, and then you could go take the training to become a life activation practitioner. So that's what happened to me in 2013. I got initiated, and then in 2014, I went to the training, which was about 6 months later. And so I was already able to do life activations at that point within 6 months. So you can become a healer, or you can facilitate this service for people pretty quickly if you want to. I've had clients go on and do that. But, if you're talking about levels of, being able to do, different series for people, or doing, advanced healings for people, that obviously is going to take some time.
Yeah. How much time have you spent there?
I've been at least twice a year. I honestly go about 4 times a year, but I've been at least 2 times a year for the past 10 years.
Yeah,
for weeks at a time.
Weeks at a time.
For weeks at a time, just training, and they're handing down the modalities and then practicing. What I really appreciate about the Modern Mystery School is that each year we go and we basically have a professional development day, and what that means is you kind of get checked on. Are you facilitating this modality the way it was handed down?
Oh, cool.
And that's really nice because it keeps the lineage intact, versus something where I've seen with Reiki, for example, where people go to a training and then there's no checks, and nobody checks them.
Yeah, right.
Right.
Yeah.
And so you might, maybe that was some of
CEs,
your hesitation,
well, yeah.
where you're like, well, I want to get Reiki, but I don't even know this practitioner, or I don't know what they're doing. Are they giving me the real Reiki, or are they giving me some version of Reiki,
Right, that they've learned.
Yeah, and so I really appreciate that about the Mystery School, because once a year we all have to perform the life activation and make sure we're doing it correctly.
Kind of a cool concept. They make doctors and,
Yeah,
pharmacists
totally.
and nurses called continuing education, CEs.
Yeah,
So,
basically.
each
It's
year-
basically continuing education, yeah.
Yeah, which is pretty cool. You hold yourself accountable to what you learn, and
Yeah.
because anyone can that's the other thing too, is anyone can pass a test, one time, so you can learn and you can pass a test, but to keep the knowledge, like you said, you do daily rituals, daily practices to
Yeah.
keep this, this energy and this work flowing through you.
Yeah.
That's correct?
Yeah. Yeah, and it's not so good, I'm not so good, I can't be better. Isn't that the quote?
Yeah, yeah.
It's you can always be better at what you do.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm always learning every day too, right? I'm on a path of healing too. I'm not, a guru. I haven't reached the summit. We're all climbing this mountain together.
Yeah, I heard you say that one time. We're all climbing this mountain together, and you just reach back the hand if you know a little bit more than the
totally.
next person, and you help
and,
them out.
and how much more, you only need to be one step in front of someone else to reach back, right?
Right.
So, all of us have the potential to reach back and help somebody.
Yeah, exactly. We do. Now, is when you go to the school, do they teach you a ton about King Solomon and how that the connection to that?
They do. That's taught a lot in the initiation class, is how the lineage came to be, or what the lineage is about and how it came to be. I can share with you that, King Solomon, his goal was to find a universal system. So that meant, regardless of race, religion, sex, money, any demographic, they wanted he wanted a universal system for someone to be able to walk home to themselves, so come back to themselves, and understand themselves as the divine. So that was his life goal. That was his pursuit, was this universal system that would work for anyone, regardless of where they were at in life, which we kind of talked about earlier. So that was really King Solomon's goal. And King Solomon was also really psychic. So he knew the world was going to reach a point where we were going to need this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of what he did was, with the future in mind.
So he was a wholly good person, this Solomon. I know, King Solomon, and I know, the stories from the different.
Yeah, there's a lot of
texts.
biblical stories.
Biblical
King Solomon
stories.
the Wise.
Yeah, King Solomon the Wise.
Right?
So
Wise king.
Yeah, wise king, and but then also I've there's also stuff that he that he got corrupted by that he got corrupted by because he was out there doing too much healing and listening to the too many foreign deities and too much of that, right? He had the they say he had 700 wives and 300 concubines or whatever, and that's
There's a lot. We go deeper into that in the initiation, but yeah, no, I totally hear you. I know that's out there.
Yeah, Cool. So
I know a lot of times people get, anybody that stands up in the light usually gets persecuted.
Yeah.
And we've seen that in history. Jesus, Martin Luther King, I don't know, just people standing up for the light, they get attacked pretty hard.
Yeah.
So,
Yes. Yeah, they get attacked pretty hard, 100%. And that's why I would love to and it's cool that this exists, because it's like I didn't realize, this this information, right? There's information, this lineage that that's been passed down, that you're gonna be able to tell people, is a cooler story. You're not able to share any of that today with us today.
Well, I can share some of it. The
Okay.
ancient mystery school is the hidden knowledge. It's the secret knowledge of the world. This stuff used to be very secretive. And it's only been available to the public since 1997. So it hasn't even been 30 years yet. There have been times when mystery schools have been public, but then persecution get shut down. You stand up in the light, it gets shut down. But at this point, the mystery school is an ancient mystery school. It's in like 50 countries and has thousands of initiates. We call them initiates, people that have been initiated.
Mm-hmm.
So at this point, the school is rocking, open to the public. But this, it's really the hidden mysteries of the universe, the things that we ask ourselves every day, or the five questions that people usually seek out a mystery school for are: who am I? Right? That's a big question. What am I? Where did I come from? Where am I going? And what is my purpose in life? And those 5 questions, they're deep soul questions. And you can meditate with one of those questions for the rest of your life. But, wanting to know yourself, right? It's the path of know thyself, is what an ancient mystery school is all about.
And those questions too, I think, like, one other question that people would come to, and I, in some opinions, those might be the same question, but it's like, what is God?
Yeah. Who is God?
Who is God?
What is God?
What is God? What's your take on that? What is God? Who's God?
You're asking me great initiation questions. Who do you think God is?
Me and you.
I love that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's consciousness, like the
We're all connected, right?
We're all connected, and the eventually, I think we'll learn more about the science, and we'll have understanding of this. Our brains just aren't quite there yet. I mean, some people's are, but from my understanding, like, we create everything, through, and it has a lot to do with light, so, like, if, we see things, but, if things.
I think totally. I think one of the hardest things humans struggle with is the mind is very limited. The life activation is literally a stick and 2 rocks, and your whole life changes. Like, it makes no sense to the mind, right? And so people get frustrated with that because they want to understand it on that. Like, what? I need to understand this.
Right.
And for me, I'm just like so in awe of the magic of it.
So you don't care to understand it?
I don't, but there are people that do. And luckily, there is a woman in the school who has what is she? She's a physicist. And so she breaks it down in terms of like science, which is really nice for people that really want to understand it on the scientific level.
She'd be a great guest.
Yeah. Well, she lives in London, but
We'll go.
Yeah, you'd geek out over that. Her name's Teresa Bullard.
Okay. Cool.
She's on Gaia TV. I don't know if you've heard of
yeah,
Gaia TV.
uh-huh.
Yeah. She has a show called Mystery Teachings.
Okay.
And so she breaks down the life activation, why it works.
Cool.
But to me, it's like, I can't, there's always something to this lineage and to this magic that I can't explain, and I love that.
Yeah.
I love that there's a mystery to it. Our world is so set on I must know exactly why this works and what it is, and it's like letting logic go for a minute and just letting the magic happen, because our world needs more magic.
I think if it happens for people, the world needs more magic. I love that. If you let it happen, you can't. You got to be, if you go into it looking for like the science and all that, like, with yoga, for instance, when I started yoga, it just like, it felt really good in my body to do it, and it made sense. So I followed that feeling. And that's like the same thing, very similar feeling to, the experience I had last night. It was like, oh, wow, this is definitely something that made me feel really good in my body, and something that I need to explore more.
Yeah. Even when you came in, I was like, let's not talk about it. I just want you to experience it, because the experience is something grounding for people. If I talk about it, it's like the mind is trying to grasp something that's very hard to grasp. And so, it actually makes my job kind of difficult because when I'm trying to explain what I do, it's like more of an experience that people have. So
And that's what's cool that we're doing this, because it's like you show people, you can just show people, and that's probably why you get a lot of businesses like word of mouth and people talking about it.
Referrals, right? Because someone tries it and then they want their friend to try it and that kind of stuff. Yeah.
But still, what is God? Who's your God? What's the way you see it?
You'll have to take the class.
Okay, so to get your opinion on it, you can't share.
Well, there's certain things in the lineage that we hand down in a certain way. So it's like the mystery part of.
Okay.
The mystery part of the
So
lineage.
this is a great question now, because I believe that there is there is value to that in terms of like, because the reason why it's not released is because if it was, then it would get corrupted, like you said. Then you could have anybody teach it, and then it could become like Reiki, where you might be learning this type of Reiki or that type of Reiki.
Yeah, I've literally.
Because if it's this healing, sorry to interrupt, if it's this amazing healing knowledge that like literally can make people feel like it made me feel, like that, like it would be cool if more people could do it and more people could understand it. And if it was freely available, would that make it, I'm just curious about that.
Yeah, no, I hear you. With the lineage, there's a way that energy is handed down, and so you want it handed down in like a sacred, holy manner, before I present this concept, or present this teaching. But, I've been through this conversation so many times with people. It's like, I want to help as many people as possible. I know you do too, right? Like, you want to have a legacy, you want to have impact, and it's like, why can't I just spill the beans, and it's like, I don't know about you, but, when I give things away for free, or like that whole free thing, people don't really value it. Like, there's so much free knowledge on the internet. There's so much free information. People kind of scan it. They're like, okay. But, if you put someone in the container, the sacred container, and there's an exchange for it, it just really creates like this, like divine experience that's really powerful. And then they have something, versus like a free-for-all.
Yeah, it's
I
what
get
I do
it.
right here. It's what I do right here. It's what we're doing right now.
Yeah.
In the podcast, like me and you. It's the same thing.
What do you mean?
Creating the sacred space. That's what I do
Yeah,
with people.
you have
I
a
create
great
the sacred
container.
space.
Yeah,
it's
it's
a great
beautiful.
container. They
Yeah.
you can't have their phone. So like, sure, sometimes we're engaging in conversation and having like a podcast conversation outside of this.
Yeah.
But their minds are in different places. They're like, your mind right now is completely, not that it's not always, but it's completely present to right here, right now, same as mine. And we're having this beautiful connected experience that we'll remember forever.
Yeah.
So it's a cool thing that it's something that
Right, like you've created this container and like this way to bring, have your guest be in a spotlight and like have a spotlight on you, and it's just like we could have had a conversation on Zoom, right?
Right.
And it's like, now you're doing something special here. And so we want to like uphold that level of, holiness and sacredness.
Yeah, I get it. Because it's just about like, but it would be really cool if we could like figure out a way where like it was more recognized, so that there was more people doing it, or more people understanding, or would that not work? It has to kind of be
slowly but surely,
Okay.
Like I'm on the podcast so people can at least know it exists. Like my goal has always been, you don't have to do it, but I at least, if you at least know it exists, then I've done my job, because then you have a choice.
Yeah.
But if you don't even know this exists, then like you don't really have a choice, right?
Right.
So.
Yeah, it's because it's such a finicky like line that you have to draw to be able to, like you said, if you offer something for free to somebody and you give them that, and they, the value does get taken away from, can get taken away from it.
Yeah, I'm super generous. When I started, I do work in the community. I do different things, and I was doing a lot of like, I was doing some free healings and things like that for clients and things, and I don't know, it just, the value, like, it wasn't the same value versus like having a client that, saves their money and like really wants to come get the life activation, and then they were, it's like it has value to them and they like work for it. And it's a complicated conversation, the whole like, well, why can't we just...
It's so complicated, but I think I think maybe like a couple of years ago I might have been like, on the other side of like, oh no, everyone's gonna know, we just gotta free everything and people will figure it out. But now I think like there is
Well,
because of the guidance that I've had from all the different teachers that I've had, including you last night. Like there's a lot of sacredness to it, and I think that we should make it as like you used to make it seem like it make it pretty easy for people to learn this. Come do this
yeah, if
cool
you want to
training
learn
with
what
me.
I'm
It's not like you're
doing.
hiding it from people. That's what I think is really cool. I think that sometimes people like also they hide it as well as and maybe that I don't fully know the mystery school. There could be behind that where they're just it's always a training that you have to take or to do this or to but I don't get that feeling at all. I get a feeling that it's like, okay, this is something that we're going to make a business around this so that people can live and people can actually do this work, which is an incredible thing. And then people who decide to do it, who take that on,
Yeah,
who are called
not
to it.
everyone wants to activate people. Not everyone wants to initiate people, and that's totally fine. But Steve being the best version of Steve, like that's game on. Like,
Yeah, game on. Right.
Like I just want people to have joy in their lives, and people are suffering. I'm like, did you know you didn't have to suffer that much? And like I didn't know that until somebody introduced me to it. I just thought life was suffering. Like that's just what you do.
Yeah,
And I'm like, oh wait, maybe like I don't have to suffer so much.
Yeah, it's so true. It really the suffering that's a great way to put it. Like because we just get used to the suffering and we're so resilient as human beings. Like that's one thing about us is we're resilient. We're very resilient to the suffering. A lot of times we don't even like realize it, right? Like we can walk around our whole lives with our rib up like this because we're just getting through life, opposed to being able to bring our rib down, which is safe for us and going to make us heal and feel better. We just do this, we get by, we figure it out.
Yeah. I had a client yesterday, and she was like, I just didn't even know that you could feel like this. Like I didn't know. How would you know? Like
exactly
until someone introduces you to it. So
yeah, and I think you've said it before too. There's because there's other modalities to help. I didn't think you could do this by not touching someone. That was crazy for me, or not moving your body. That's what's mind blowing for me.
Yeah.
And why I was not I don't call myself a skeptic because I understand. I know I have energy.
I know you don't give skeptic vibes.
It's not skeptic vibes, but I was like curious about it and not like I was waiting for the right person to do it so that I knew I could become a believer because I believed in it and I knew that maybe it doesn't always, there had to be something there, but I didn't fully, I'd rather spend my time going to yoga or getting a massage.
Yeah.
Not anymore. Now you said, now I am probably one of those people who would want to, to get, do the life activity, like do the initiation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Because I think that would be a cool thing. It's to further learn how you can.
Yeah, like we're all really special, right? And so it's like we want to, whatever. I don't know what someone's here to do, But I know like if I turn on that light within them, they can go do it. And I think that's, maybe you're here to be the greatest podcaster of all time or, something like that. And yeah, great. Like let me help you get there. Mm-hmm. Right. But like just what I really appreciate about the work I do is there's never anything to add to someone because we already are the light. So what I'm doing is I'm just washing away what's not really you in the first place. And sometimes that can be really scary for people because we build our identities a lot around our trauma or the things that have happened to us. And so once that's not in your energy field anymore, it's like, well, then who am I? Like, I don't know who I am without this thing. Can I give you an example?
Yeah, I'd love an example.
So I had a big part of my story is I had an eating disorder. It was horrible, 17 years. And I took the initiation class, on faith. And like 6 months later, I was using the rituals and I woke up one morning and I know this sounds like too good to be true, but I literally it just wasn't there. It was just gone. And I didn't think about food that day. I didn't think about what I was going to eat. And these were like thoughts that were tormenting my mind every day.
Yeah, right.
Because that's how these
eating
disorders work, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was like the weirdest day. And then I like literally was having anxiety because I didn't know who I was anymore because I had shifted. Like that was who I was. I was Alex with the eating disorder. Like,
yeah.
And now who am I? That's like, oh my gosh, I actually healed this. Now what? It was like, it was so, I needed a minute, And then I had to like, it's almost like you're constantly recreating yourself because as you heal, you're like, oh, that wasn't who I was. Okay. And then you recreate yourself again.
Yeah.
So.
We all know how important strength training is for long-term health, but it can be hard to know where to start. I was in the same spot a year ago. You want to make sure you're doing exercises right, avoiding injury, and getting results, but it's easy to feel lost without a plan. That's when I found On Target Fitness. At On Target, you get a custom strength program, personalized attention in a small group setting, and the nutrition coaching you need for real lasting change. In the year I've been working out there, I've gotten stronger, more mobile, and more confident. My form has improved, and even something as simple as walking feels better. The group energy keeps me motivated, and every workout is fun. On Target just opened a new location in Kingston. Now you've got even more options to experience their amazing approach. If you're ready for lasting change, head to www.ontargetfit.com and schedule your session today. Let me introduce you to Elevate, a premium functional mushroom company focused on supporting your highest potential. They offer a range of powerful supplements crafted from the finest medicinal fungi designed to naturally enhance your well-being. Elevate carries everything from mushroom tinctures, capsules, and teas to their delicious mushroom-infused coffees. All of their products are made with USA-grown mushrooms and contain only wild medicinal mushrooms, no psychoactive compounds. I personally use their Focus Tincture every day and love their chai tea blend. It's my go-to for a calming yet energizing boost. Elevate's products support mental clarity, immunity, and overall vitality. They ship nationwide, so whether you're new to functional mushrooms or already a fan, Elevate has something for you. Check them out at shopelevatemushrooms.com, where you will find a detailed description of each product and experience the difference for yourself. Constantly are. It's the only thing that's constant is change. It's like what we're the best at is constant change and constant growth. It's necessary. Someone shared that with me. I always thought like, oh, it's a part of growth. We need it for growth. No, it's necessary to exist because we need that to change and to thrive.
Well, change is happening no matter what, but do you want to be in the driver's seat or do you want to just?
Yeah, it's amazing that you were able to have that experience. Because you were 17 years, you struggled with it, and then you just wake up one day.
Yeah, and I tried all the things. I did all the things I was supposed to do to heal it.
Now, when you got, I know exactly what you're saying. Like,
and then I was introduced to magic, and it was like, wait, magic is what's gonna heal this? Like, what? Like, are you kidding me? I just did like 12 years of therapy.
Right, and instead, magic heals me.
Yeah, like, so right outside of like my mind's understanding.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, were you the magic? So that it's you were able to that stress that you're talking about, like afterwards. That's always heals. That always comes when people make change. So like a lot of people who grow up with like trauma and grow up with like they're constantly in conflict. When they get out of conflict, they don't know what to do. So they
create more conflict.
They create more conflict, exactly. And so and me being one of those people, that's definitely something I always have to like work on. Like things are good. That's good.
Yeah, it's wild when your comfort zone is your trauma zone, right?
Yeah, and that's how most people. Your comfort zone is your trauma zone. And
someone takes you out, and you're like, "Let me back to my trauma." And just like, wait, what?
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Let me back to my trauma. Right. It is. It's fucking wild.
But then if your trauma doesn't exist anymore, right? Because you've like healed it, then what?
Then you have to create a new identity. You have to change. You have to
grow a lot.
And that it's hard, right? Because then relationships sometimes change. People change. That's the one thing that I've seen is I've had to, as I've changed as a person, as I've become a person who's more spiritually connected, a person who doesn't care to do the same things that I did 10 years ago. That a lot of my friends still love to do that. I love these people, and but I don't. They're not necessarily interested in what I'm interested in, and they don't want to spend time with me in that way necessarily. So I find new people to spend.
Yeah, a lot of times relationships, right? Like you were saying, like your partner either comes with you or they don't. And you don't want that gap to get so big that you're in two different realities, right?
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
So there is fear sometimes with clients, because it's like, well, they'll feel on like a soul level that their life is going to change, and some people don't want that.
Right.
They're like, no, I want to stay in this comfort zone, or. You've
had people like stop doing the work with you because of that?
Yeah, because their fear takes a hold for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it makes sense. It's like it's you have this comfort, and then you realize you're this whole different person, and you've built up this identity of For me, it was like sometimes I want to engage in typical pharmacy and stuff like that. There's a lot of money to be made in that, and sometimes my brain goes towards that, but then I think like, it doesn't make me feel good, so I can't do that. I'm past that. But then if you took somebody who has made their money and they've made a lot of success, they've made their life around this. A lot of my friends, you try to have different conversations with them about health and, hey, maybe this is something we should look into. Maybe this is something different. Maybe we shouldn't be doing this way. And it's like, no, this is the way that it is, and this is the way that it has to be, because their whole identity, that's why they've gotten paid at their job and why they've been able to morally, accept themselves and be able to do what they've done in their career.
Yeah, and so some people don't want that to shift. And that's okay. Like, there's no judgment. Like, this isn't.
There's no judgment?
This isn't for everyone, right?
Yeah, right. Well, I don't know. Let me ask you that. That's a question, right? Is it, it is hard. It creates, the world would be better if more people realized, if more people opened their eyes to this and more people worked on themselves in this way and in the way, and like, I feel like selfish or weird saying this, but the way that I've worked on myself, if more people did that, then the world would be better.
I agree with you. I just don't think that's everyone's, necessarily their contract or what they want to do, and that's the nice part about free will, right? Because we get that choice, Like I've like family members a lot of the time, there'll be someone who doesn't want to shift, or you're like so excited about your shift.
Yeah.
Like, don't you want to do this too? And they're like, absolutely not.
Right.
That kind of thing. But I think if enough of us shift or do the work, I appreciate that you're doing the work. If enough of us shift and do the work, then we can change the world. Have you heard of the monkey experiment? I forget what it's called, but they have the bananas. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Tell me.
So there was an experiment where they had a bunch of monkeys. I don't know the complete. I'm probably going to butcher this a little bit, but they had one monkey, and all the monkeys were eating their bananas a certain way, and then he started eating his banana, like opening it from the bottom.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, at first, it's like the whole thing where like truths are, first they're ridiculed, people make fun of it, and then they're curious about it, and then they accept it or whatever.
Yeah.
And so then all of a sudden, all the monkeys are
laughed at them at first.
You're laughing at them, right? And that's what's happened with like meditation and yoga, and now it's widely accepted. But 20 years ago, it wasn't really widely accepted in the same way. And mystery school is kind of like that too.
Yeah, it definitely was. Yeah, you're right. It was. Yeah, none of this stuff was accepted. It's like probably why I feel more comfortable doing it. But it's even funny because I still, like when I talk with older people, older men, and I tell them all about what I'm doing. They if it was 10 years ago, they would have been like, "Oh, you get out of here with that, dude!" Like I'm not. Now they're like, "Oh man, really? Like that's really what your experience was. It made you feel that good in your body. Like you got that flexible. Okay, maybe I might try that.
Yeah. Now so many people do yoga, right?
Yeah, right. Now so many people do yoga.
And what's exciting for me with the energy healing is it's more and more accepted, right? Which is really cool for me because, when I first started 10 years ago, it wasn't as accepted. And now people seem to be more open to it. So it's cool.
Yeah, people probably, yeah. It's really cool. It is really cool. But at the same time, like you said, hopefully there's the right, it will be the right people around it, to keep carrying it forward. So when somebody wants to go get some energy work, they have the ability to get good energy work and have an experience like I did.
Yeah. I mean, in every profession, you've got like great doctors and you've got not great doctors, so I would just recommend working with someone you feel good with.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Can you share anything else about like about the energy and like how you work with it at all? Like I know you can't like give us everything, right? Because it's it's very sacred and it's a mystery, right? Yeah.
What do you want to know specifically? Just like how it works, or
yeah, kind of like how it works. Like I know, like there's certain like last night you had me stand up, and you had me sit down at first, and you did something small, and then I wasn't sitting down long, and then I stood up, and we were standing up for like 20 minutes, and you said to me like is it okay if I share this?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh yeah. You said to me like I'm gonna work on your structure. And I said, okay, that's cool. That's cool because I know and I hadn't even really mentioned that to you or, I hadn't talked about that beforehand, but it was like something that would have been cool for me to get out of it. Something that I'm always talking about, is how do I get my posture better? How do I be more comfortable in my body? And I felt my body, you started to do this work and you were, sometimes you were saying, you're chanting, mumbling stuff, and you were moving your hands in certain ways, and I could like feel, and you were working on my feet. I could feel my feet like they almost like ignited. It's like I could feel like it was like fire. Kind of like like tinglies. That's what I would call them, like tinglies when you get
Yeah.
numb. So that's how it was. And then like as each part of my body like kind of did that as you went and you worked on it. There was at one point where like I was sitting down again, after this, and I really felt like things were starting to become into a line and into alignment, and I felt like like the energy was being like pulled like from my head, from like the back of my head right here, which I always think to myself too, like that is how like posturally like that would be good to to always do
Stand
that,
up straight.
to stand up straight, yeah. And so I feel like this energy pulling me back, and and it was just it was just really wonderful. It was just that, and then we did some stuff afterwards where the two rocks and a stick, right? You said, right? Yeah, the 2 rocks and a stick.
Let's just simplify it. Yeah,
The
it's much more sacred than that. But,
No, of course. Well, you said it.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, it is much more sacred than that, and it's like, but that's what the mind says. It's like, okay,
Yeah, so now it's just gonna change my life with 2
No, it's
rocks. Okay.
right? Yeah, and you were able. You said that you were reading my DNA.
Mm-hmm.
You were reading snapshots of my DNA, and you shared some like profound things with me.
Yeah, that I couldn't have known, right?
Yeah, you could have known. That was pretty cool, and like that I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. It gives me insight to like things that I'm working on. Stuff that I'm like currently going through, and in this time, this time period. You mentioned like that like you saw like I was I'm trying to uncover truth. I was sitting there and like digging through dirt and trying to find the truth and
Trying to find the gold.
Trying to find the gold. The gold and the truth. I'm always doing that, and just a lot of connections with with my sister who passed, and you said some stuff about that, and then which you didn't know about. We just met. And so all this stuff, and so all this cool. It was really neat that I didn't even realize that was a bit of it. I just thought we were going to be doing like physical work. In terms of you like kind of maybe pulling some stuff out of my shoulder, like my friend at the gym had told me.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. So I'm basically like I can't go super into it, but rebalancing like the body. So you've heard of things like the chakras. So like rebalancing the chakras. There's different energies that you can learn about. It's like the etheric energy, magnetic lines. I'm just working with different, things in our different lines within our structure, and just like kind of like resetting them, rebalancing them, moving out the old stuff.
So it's geometry.
There is a lot of sacred geometry in what I do. Yeah.
Because like the geometry, that's how I'm always like I am coming back to that, because like how I hold my body in space. I'm trying to get comfortable. I'm trying to get good posture. I know that once I do that, the rest of my life will become easier.
Yeah.
And every time I get closer to good posture and closer to comfortability, my life does get easier.
Yeah.
So like,
a lot of people, they like walk around like this, right? Like,
yeah.
Like, what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And it's like, cause you're like, something's happened where your heart got hurt.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people, like, they don't even realize it, but their posture is like protecting their heart. And then, I worked with someone and, helped his heart. And then it was like, all of a sudden he walks around like this. And it's like, oh, because there was some damage done there in the field. And it's like that posture shift. Yeah.
Yeah. It's as simple as like, we there's something really cool that people share with each other. Sometimes it's like when we go to hug each other, we constantly protect our hearts, and we throw that away and say, no, I'm going to give you my right shoulder because I don't want to give you my heart. And like, it was cool because I've been doing this for like 3 or 4 years now, because somebody told me at yoga, and this beautiful experience I had, on the beach, and this woman was like, give me the heart. No, give me the heart hug. And I was like, all right. So then I blew my mind, and now it's like I always share it with people we shared that last night. And when you give a person your heart, it's so funny because it's a real thing. Our physical bodies, they're like manifestations of our of our minds and our emotions and what we're going through. And so like to the point too, like this might be interesting for you. And so like I said, I've been trying to figure out how to be comfortable right in the body. And so like I've had diagnosed that I had like had been putting more weight, maybe 70% of doing everything with my right side. And I'd been compensating on my left side. And maybe that was because of like a physical knee injury, when I was a kid.
Or your car accident.
Or the car accident, maybe doing, being scared, with the trauma, right? To the point where it was affecting the left side of my body so much that I think that it even affected my how I breathe air into my body in my nostrils. And so my nostrils, if you can see, my left
Oh,
nostril
yeah.
is more in than my right
Oh,
nostril.
interesting.
And I've been able to heal that a little bit, as I've gone here. It used to be like completely
Oh, wow,
closed.
really?
Yeah, it used to be completely closed. And now as I reshift, something that you helped me do last night, return to
Balance.
that balance, exactly. I can breathe better. So
Awesome.
it is all connected there. It's all connected somehow.
Yeah.
And I don't know how, and I do think that geometry and having to like hold the way you hold your body in space, this is just from like self-experimentation, stuff that I've done,
Yeah.
maybe with psychedelics, but also not with psychedelics, and just like dancing and stuff, and figuring that out. I've been able to explore a lot of this, some of that stuff that's made me feel like when I do breath work and I do breath holds in these certain geometrical shapes, that's what heals me the most.
Yeah. I mean, I'm here because it worked for me too, Like, I'm only here because it worked for me. Like, I'm like, seeking, but yeah, like, the life activation obviously helped me physically. My friends and I have a joke. Like, if you look at old pictures of me, it looks like my skull changed. Isn't that weird? Like, my whole, like, face in a certain way. I just let go of so much. And I know that sounds really weird, but I can show you an old passport photo and a new passport pphoto. It's like...
Doesn't sound weird to me. It doesn't sound weird to me at all. It's the exact thing with the nose. We hold our bodies in space. Everybody, like, please, like, and I will get better at articulating this, and Alex will help me as we go here. But we hold our bodies in space due to certain, traumas that we have. It might have been a car accident. It might have been when somebody yelled at us. It might have been ducking down. It might have been just something in our lives that we hold in us always. Now we can reverse that, and we can play with that and figure out ways to heal that. And you've obviously, through the energy field, figured out ways to do that, in such a concise way that is like, that's what's really great about it, is I can foam roll and I can do breath work and I can do that stuff and can get to some of these same points and maybe feel as good, but it would take me like 2 days of focus and time, and I never have that time alone by myself, so that we were able to do that like in an hour is you can literally, we're all holding our bodies in like weird ways and due to compensations from trauma.
Yep.
And we, there's multiple ways, and that's really what fixing our, like, I think that most sickness and disease comes from, people say inflammation a lot, that it's all from inflammation. Yes, agree. But tension is what causes stress.
Totally.
Stress causes tension. Stress is like the idea, right? Stress is like the ethereal, like mind
so many
idea.
People are sick, right?
And it comes from tension. Comes from tension, like you said, holding your body like this, and then you're doing that, so your spleen is a different place, so it's not able to produce. Your pancreas is crunched up, so your insulin production is down, and now you're a type 2 diabetic.
And you walk around like that for 30 years or whatever.
30 years, exactly.
You never know that you can heal it.
Right.
I think I'm a very like practical, efficient person, so I wanted something that was going to like work and heal myself. It's funny. I'm not necessarily like, I was never into spirituality. Like, I'm not a super woo-woo person. Which is funny that I do what I do. But I like the practicality of it, and I'm like, okay, so this is going to expedite my healing process, and like help me be more youthful and be more vibrant and be more joyful. Let's do it. Yeah.
So it wasn't from so you weren't when you found this, you weren't going down a path of
No, when I found this, I was definitely desperate. I was desperate with the eating disorder stuff.
You're desperate, but were you doing like other spirituality stuff to reach this?
I had to experience Reiki, and I had to experience some meditation, but there was no I must find spirituality within myself. It was just like, I was into personal development, so I was like, okay, how the heck do I heal myself? How do I get to this level of potential within myself I know is there, and I have no idea how to get there. That was kind of what it was about. And I tried a bunch of stuff, and that stuff was all good. I'm not knocking it. It's just I really wanted something that was efficient and practical for my life. That wasn't necessarily just a pep rally or a cool mental concept or, stuff like that.
Did you know you were gonna make it your life though?
No. I don't think anyone does.
Right.
And then they experience it, and they're like, wait a second.
Yeah, this is something that I really want to share with people, and that's what I want to do. That's why I felt like I'm on this earth, is to help people and to make the world a better, easier place for people. So,
media is a huge part of helping people. So hats off to you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Like this information has to get out there somehow.
Yeah, no, thank you. That's a really cool. It's the reason I do it is because like conversations are like the only way that we can truly.
Podcasting, especially, right? These days, it's huge.
It's huge. It's just like, and I've wanted to do this forever. Like I started my podcast 2 years ago, but like I wanted to do. I've been wanting to do this for 10 years. Since podcasting became a thing, because I have an ability that my energy helps people makes people feel comfortable.
Yeah,
and
it's easy to talk, right?
It's easy to talk when they're comfortable, and they want to tell me some cool shit, and I want to talk about some cool shit, and let's figure out how to change the world together.
And you get to choose what cool shit you talk about. So
yeah, exactly. Cool. And I get to choose what cool shit I talk about, and like that's what interests me, and what I think, and it's not always that's what's really cool. It's like I think there's a lot of podcasters out there who just like, oh, that interests me. I want to go down that rabbit hole, and they do that, and I do that sometimes for sure, but like. For you, for instance, I was like, oh, this is really interesting to me, and I want to go down this rabbit hole and figure this stuff out. But I think it's going to bring a lot of fucking benefit to people. And if I'm learning about it, it's also going to bring a ton of benefit to other people. So, like, let's have these different conversations that are, might be a little bit, like, out there, a little different. Hey, yeah, you can heal somebody by not touching them, not giving them medicine, not giving them.
How wild is that?
It's wild. It's really wild, and it's so opposite to what we think. As a Western nation, like we're just, this is, we need all these, it's starting to open up, more holistic health is becoming a thing. People are hemming and hawing about it, but
it's getting there. It's not quite there, but it's getting there.
Yeah, it's not there. It's still not easy for like, that's the whole thing is I want it to become so easy where I think like every community has a place where you can go and you can swim in a pool, a healthy pool, saltwater pool.
It's almost like you want it to be like, oh, I'm sick, I should go to a yoga class versus I should take Tylenol or Advil. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, it's like, oh, what do I need? But you want your first thought to be, Reiki, yoga, meditation, energy.
And that's my story. So like my story is I am a person who. My mom was a nurse, she thought allopathic medicine was great. It was the greatest, that was her generation, like, so if I was 8 years old and I had a headache, it was like, okay, Advil, Tylenol, let's go, as much as possible. You have a sickness, like, let's, you have a headache, Tylenol, and so that's just how to the point where I went to pharmacy school because I thought that medicine was like the greatest thing ever. Like, this is awesome. This stuff helps people. It really helps people so much. It makes them feel better.
And there is some of that, right?
100%.
I mean, there's medicines that save lives.
Diabetics. Exactly. Yeah. There's medicine that's amazing. It's and I would say like 20 to 30% of medicine is great, and especially in like times of emergency use and in surgery. Like that's when it's end of life. Like that's when it's really awesome. And sometimes managing long-term diseases. But I like now to get me to take an Advil. You gotta like, my wife is like, I'll be sick as a dog, and she's like, dude, just take an Advil, and I'll be like, I'll be finally sick. I've done I've done the yoga, I've done the sauna, I've done all the herbs, I've done everything, and I'm like, fine, I'll take 200 milligrams.
And then you're like, okay, that's it.
And you want to know what's funny about that is that is technically a sub-therapeutic dose, but I take 200 milligrams and I feel fucking great. And I'm like, oh, why are they telling people that they need to take 6 to 800?
What do you mean by sub-therapeutic dose?
So like if to treat a headache, depending on your weight, if you're an adult who weighs over 120 pounds, you are going to be taking 600 milligrams of Advil. 600? That's what 600.
Oh, I didn't know
that's
that.
What the dose is.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, if you're a little less, 400, you might be able to get away, but 200, sub-therapeutic. It's not going to help you. It won't help with the headache. That's like what they would say.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so it's like...
That's crazy.
It is crazy. And like, so all these, all the dosing, it's like, maybe even take half of that, take 100, so, whatever. And it's just, the fact that, is what I'm saying is I am now a person who was, given these medicines at first, like I have one little thing of a headache or anything, here's it. Now it's like, okay, I have a headache, I won't take medicine for a headache. You know what I'm saying? I'll drink water, I'll go do yoga, I'll work out, I'll meditate, I'll breathe.
And then see how I feel.
Yeah, and then see how I feel. And I'm lucky enough where I don't have headaches that would ever require me to take medicine. If I have like a really, really bad flu where I can't, that's maybe when I'll take I'll take a sinus infection that just can't, maybe that's when I'll take an Advil. But that's like once a year. Yeah. So if like I can heal that way, then I know that other people can heal that way too. And just to, we don't need as much medicine. We don't need.
Yeah. I think we both really come from like a love of humanity. Like, like. There's other ways.
There's other ways.
I mean? Yeah. Just wanting to help your fellow brother or sister.
Yeah.
Like, come on, guys.
Come come on, guys. And like, I know from your story too, like you had mentioned on your website that you took antidepressants, and like, so that's
Oh
another
yeah,
whole thing,
because
right?
that's what they do.
It's what they do.
They're
Exactly.
like, oh,
You have an
okay.
eating disorder because you're depressed, and now we need to put you on all these other medicines that are gonna fuck you up even more. Sorry, I didn't mean to jump in, but that's just how
No,
it goes,
please do.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so it's like, oh yeah, it's like, I was going through my stuff, and I was just a kid who just needed a little bit of direction, a little bit of love. Like that's
Yeah.
all, that's all.
Connection.
Connection,
Little
exactly.
bit
That's
of
really what I
connection,
needed. Like, hey, let's teach this kid how to do yoga. He's a little bit stressed out. He's dealing with a lot.
Yeah, exactly.
He hasn't learned how to process his trauma. No, let's give him
No,
all this.
he needs this drug for the rest of
He
his
needs
life.
this drug for the rest of his life, right? And it's like, what some people, 10 years ago would say to me, it's like, what? That is, psychiatrists, people who are trained. It's like, why are you suggesting this to somebody who's just sad because of their situation and they just need to figure out how to connect
Yeah.
and
Do
figure
you know
out
what that
more.
person's home life is like? Maybe that's why they're sad.
Maybe talk to him a little bit more instead of just
Yeah.
like immediately getting him in there and within the first
just-
appointment prescribing them drugs and maybe this will work. Maybe in 6 weeks maybe it will work. They never work. It's if an SSRI, if an antidepressant works for you, that's awesome. Keep taking
I do
it
know
if you
people
want.
it works for.
I do,
And
exactly.
I don't, just to clarify, if you work with me, I don't tell people to come off their medications. It just happens to be like a natural result that happens from doing energy work. Like I'm not on medications, but, I do the energy work, that kind of stuff,
All right.
So yeah.
So like another thing that I'm like pretty curious about because and I've mentioned already in the show and it's definitely helped me reach a higher level of consciousness. And I've also spoken with people who have told me that this is not something that will always be the case, that it's a tool and I'm on a path, to you're currently utilizing this, but is what I'm talking about is psychedelics.
Yep.
I've definitely, in my life personally, mushrooms have, psilocybin mushrooms have definitely helped me. LSD has definitely helped me, heal, become a better version of myself. Like it's undeniable. I've talked with people who have been on some of these similar paths, and they've told me that, hey man, that it might, you're just on the path right now, and you'll keep learning, and eventually you'll learn that you don't need these things, and so I'm just curious because a lot of this stuff goes hand in hand with the mystery stuff, and I'm just curious if people are doing psychedelics there, if they if there is any of that there, or or people do it before and then have come to. I'm just curious about all of it.
Yeah, I'd say, I've seen a lot of people come to mystery school because they had some type of experience where oh, wait, there's more to life, or wait, there's more to me. So that has been a gateway for people to discover mystery school. I know with psychedelics and stuff, I think part of the argument or part of the concern is that, in ancient societies, like, you would train for a really long time before you took, like, one little hit of the dose or of the plant, right? And then it would just be like a one-time experience to, help that person.
Yes.
Versus like what we've done with it today, which is like very recreational and like, access at any point, and then it becomes this crutch for people.
Yep.
And then I'm like, well, what are you replacing? If you're replacing something with God, then that's a problem. I don't know. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yes. It makes sense because I think that and I have friends who have, who have gotten lost in it and have,
it's sad, right? It
it's
becomes
sad.
like another addiction or something.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, and it's like it's almost like an addiction. It's like 'cause you said it's not like it's a physical addiction, but it's more so like a reliant on them to be able to like, okay, we want to have access higher consciousness. Okay, I need to do this, and like that's to be clear, like that's not how it has been for me. It's been like I was sick, for a long time. I was told I couldn't do any medicine, couldn't take anything. So I felt like I can't do cannabis, I can't do anything, I can't, all that. So I stopped, drinking, whatever. I just didn't do anything for 5 or 6 years. I was like, I'm not going to take anything. And then I found cannabis again, and I said, okay, this kind of helps me, be a little more creative, and it's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. This isn't going to go make me do opiates. That's a wild connection. And then I was like, okay, I still need to heal from a lot of this trauma that I had from before, and I'm working on it. I'm doing therapy, I'm doing all this stuff, but like, it's not, this yoga stuff is a little bit more, in tune with where I'd like to go down this, and and I want to move my body more, and at the same time, I'm trying to learn how to dance and be in public and dance, and And so like at first I would like go to dance in front of people, and I could speak in front of 1,000 people, but I would throw up. I would throw up because I was so subconsciously nervous about people. And then I got to a point where that wasn't the case, and psychedelics were definitely a part of that. Not all of it. And now it's like I don't need that to access. I can go dance right now, and I can access those feelings of bringing people happiness.
The universe inside of yourself.
The universe inside of myself, exactly. So I'm not I would never say that I'm using it to replace God, but the reason that I was able to give you that answer beforehand, that you and I are God together, and that was because of time spent on my foam roller after dancing, after taking in the world. All around me, and then and bringing that all back in and understanding like what it is.
Yeah, it's like discovering the divine within, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, well, then what? If you are divine, then what? Right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
now, exactly. I think now I'm trying, and I think maybe that's what it is people, and that's when people are saying is like you figure out what am I going to do with that now? You know that you're divine
Right.
within, you know that that light exists within you. So like, what is the next step? And then
I think it's the reliance on the substances for a spiritual experience.
Yeah,
when it's like you can. If you know who you are, it's like
you don't need it.
You don't really need that.
You don't need it at all, right? And that's why I agree that I'm still on the journey of figuring out exactly who I am and the person who who I am. I'm definitely on that path, and
yeah, because so many people I know have done it, use the psychedelics, and then just in terms of my work, like they'll come to the mystery school and be like, oh, okay, that's what I was, I was seeking this knowledge of self.
Yeah, right. It's self-betterment. And two, for me, it's like, and I will learn this as I go, but sometimes there's stuff in my head that is a certain way. I'm stuck on it. I think I can't
ruminate on it.
Yeah, I permeate on it, and I think about it a certain way, and it bothers me, like, because I think about it a certain way. And when I take psychedelics, I feel a different access to those emotions that I had previously, and I'm able to realize that my perception was wrong, and I can change my perception on it, and everything that's associated with that now goes away. And I know that that's my mind doing that, and I've been able to take that with me. And that's what's cool about the mushrooms is they teach you something, and then you take it with you, and you don't need to be under the influence of mushrooms to be able to use that stuff later on. But it definitely makes it easier. It definitely makes it easier to help me discern sometimes with those perceptual changes, where it's like, oh shit, dude, I've been stressed about that for a month, and now the mushrooms taught me that I didn't need to be stressed about that. I might be stressed about somebody saying something to me in a certain way because I felt that they were hurt or they were, and it's like, it just bothers me. And then I realized that shift that.
Yeah, it's like having the tools and the techniques to access that information for yourself, right?
It's exactly what it is. It's having the tools and the techniques to
and I don't
access
think people
yourself.
have that.
They definitely don't.
And so there's,
and it's really sad.
Reach for other things. I know with
But they're trying to teach themselves too. That's like what I'm trying to reach for it, right? So I'm not reaching for something else. I'm trying to teach myself exactly that.
Yeah.
But I was never told by anybody. I didn't stumble into somebody who was a mystery man or somebody who was teaching from the school who was able to.
Right.
So I
did, right? So I went, a different direction.
And you went a different direction, and you also you were open to that. You were open to going in that direction. Some people, I think they're open to go in certain directions and to do what, to do what they're called to and do what, is going to help them change their mind and help them heal and get better.
Yeah.
But you can get lost in it.
I know one of the things that, my boyfriend, he used a lot of psychedelics at one point before he found the mystery school. And he was saying, with the psychedelics, like, he would get to a higher energy state, but then there was like the crash after, or you would come down from that state. And it's like, well, when he got to mystery school, it was like, oh, you can be at that state and stay there without having to come down or have the crash. And that was what sold him. Because it was like, oh, I can go to that state and be there versus like having to, constantly use or constantly have to rely on something.
That's it right there. Yeah. You're 100% on, because that's what we're, and I haven't fully convinced myself yet that I can do that 100% of the time.
Yeah.
And I think that I'm in that right now. And maybe it's by different teachings. Maybe I learn more about this teaching, and I learn different teachings that are going to help me get to that point. But I agree with you. So that is a great way to put it, that you just don't need to get to that level of consciousness. You don't need it anymore. You don't need the substance, which is safer. It's a safer way. Right. I do think that there's probably some application to it in helping mainstream society get to that point and helping them do it, but that's so messy.
What are you saying?
helping people see and helping them,
Yeah.
I think that one psychedelic experience, if done right, if you said guided in the right way, can
Right.
open a person up to who might not have been open to this type of work beforehand. Now they would be open to this type of work in the absence of in the absence of psychedelics, in the absence of mushrooms.
Yeah, I know. I mean, like I said, a lot of students in mystery school had found the mystery school through, through substances.
But not even them. Like, what about? I'm talking about like the curmudgeon people who are, who are like that don't want to do it, that don't want to change, and just think that I don't need anything that can help me. That's not gonna, that they're unable to shift their perception.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Well,
Everyone, I trust the timing for everyone.
Yeah.
It's like some people are gonna heal and want to do the work in their life, kind of what we were talking about earlier. Like some people want to do the work, and some people aren't ready to do the work, and that's okay.
Yeah.
So,
Right. Yeah, it is. I mean, I wasn't ready. Like you said, I was ready. I've been ready for all my things when they've come, and that's why I've had to accept that with other people too. I can suggest it and let them know.
Yeah, it's like the
how
whole
good.
same for me. It's like when the student is ready, the teacher appears. I just wish there were like, obviously you may wish this as well. Just like more, more guides, more healers, more access, so that it's not, so.
Woo woo.
So, or something so hard to like seek out versus like it's readily available, like having a lot of healers and things like that.
Yeah, I think that's great. I think we're going towards that. I think in certain communities we're going towards that. I bet. You had mentioned that. Your boyfriend lives out in
Colorado.
And there's from my understanding, it's happening here too. In the communities that we have, but out there it happens. There's a lot of medicine work being done out there, and there's a lot of medicine work being done. And when I say medicine, I mean like energy work or or maybe it's
all the things.
All the things exactly. And so. I think
what's exciting is like the sorry, I
no,
feel like I
you're
keep
good.
interrupting.
Get in there.
The old world, is falling away, and we're creating this new world. So what do we want to create, right? And I think that's really exciting. Like a lot of people are here, and like life's not working for them because they're not really meant to fit into the old world. They're here to create something new, and I think a lot of people get really depressed and anxious because like like they just don't fit in. But it's like, of course you don't fit in because you're here to create,
Yeah.
And so I think, it's exciting for me that we are starting to create this new world where, healers are readily available, or yoga is already readily available, but
More so than ever. We just
Or
had a
like-
yoga teacher on who said, 10 years ago there was only like 4 hot yoga studios in all this side of the country. Now there's a hot
Really?
yoga studio in like almost every town.
yeah, I was gonna say like yoga, every street corner,
Right.
pretty much. It's like Dunkin' Donuts.
Right. Exactly.
So,
It's
yeah.
everywhere. I think we need that. I think that the world needs that. I think that it is cool. What a cool way. Like, I'm going to feel like good for the rest of the day and probably like for the rest of the week because you said that. And not only because you did the beautiful, work that you did on me last night, but also because of, you, like, we are creating a new world. Sometimes it's stressful to do this and to do what I do for a living and to fuck
And
with my
how
tradition.
cool is it that we're like young and healthy and like leaders and that?
It's amazing.
And you have a child, right?
Yeah, a child. Yeah.
So you get to like raise a child for the new world. It's so cool.
Yeah, it's so cool. And that I really have been like going towards that lately. Like, okay, like things are hard sometimes, but like this is like if I'm gonna create a new world, it's gonna be no one's ever done it before. So like it's gonna be different. It's gonna be hard. It's gonna be a little bit funky and give myself a little bit
Stuff's not gonna make sense at times,
Yeah.
It's like it's cool.
And
And
really cool.
it's like I think people, get afraid. But everybody has like a piece of the puzzle, in this creation of the new world. So
Right, yeah. Everyone has a little piece of the puzzle. I would love to I'd love to have you on again with your boyfriend at some point if he would ever be interested in that.
Sure.
He
would love it.
Yeah, okay, cool because like
He's fair. He's like very vibrant. So
yeah,
I think
yeah.
you would enjoy his energy.
Little Steve energy, we match it a
Double
little.
Steve.
Double Steve! Oh, baby, let's go! Double Steve energy. I need him.
Yeah, everybody that meets him is like, wait, and that's like people don't. He's just so vibrant and positive that people don't believe he's like that all the time. And I'm like, no, really, I promise you, this is who he is, like 24/7. It's really wild.
Oh my God,
Yeah.
I can't wait to meet him. I can't wait to talk about about the experiences that he's had more
Yeah,
and just it would be brilliant. Please connect us and then we'll definitely do a show again
Cool.
together.
Yeah, next time he's around.
Cool.
Cool.
You are amazing.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Please, I'm definitely gonna do the life activation with you. So we'll definitely, we can jump back on that. Excuse me, initiation.
Okay, cool.
Did life activation. I'm gonna do
Sweet.
initiation with you, and
Wonderful.
we can come talk about that again.
Yeah, we can talk about that, and I'll bring my boyfriend. We'll have a great show.
Yeah, cool. We'll explore that more. So, where can the people find you?
I'm at empoweringpath.com. Instagram, Empowering Path. I think those are probably the two best.
Okay, that's how you want people to reach out to you.
Yeah, website or Instagram is good. Or Facebook. Facebook at Empowering Path.
Cool. Well, yeah, guys, definitely please check out Alex because it changed my life last night, and I'm going to continue down this path with her, and I'll keep you guys updated on that. Please, follow her. Please follow me. Please subscribe. Please share the episode. Please get it out there. We appreciate you guys.
Leave a review.
Yeah, you can leave a review. Exactly.
All good.
Alex, thank you so much for coming
welcome.
on today. You are awesome. I can't wait
Thank
to
you.
continue down this journey with you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Giddy up, guys. We'll see you next week. Peace.